Hello there, my name is Ray. I'm with Team S.T.E.A.M. Today I'm here at Flash Industrial Painting, and today we're going to do us a little metal work. This project isn't about painting anything. This project is about taking metal that's both rusty and other metal that is chrome and straightening it out and bending it into other shapes until it eventually ends up strongly resembling a dragonfly. I happen to have a couple of old exhausts off of an old auto car bed truck that I put different exhausts on that I got off of a different truck. And I'm going to grab my ratchet and I'm going to take this guy off, this cover off, and that's going to be my wings. And now that we've stolen this piece off of this pipe and this piece off of that pipe, I need to go ahead and finish stealing that piece. We've got two chrome muffler pieces, we've got a muffler cover, we've got a couple trampoline poles, we've got a couple wings of different styles off of completely different semis that I'm going to rob the chrome off of. We've got a 17-inch Ford wheel, we've got a mirror off a truck that I'm going to rob the chrome off of. We've got an old rusty piece of stovepipe that's going to serve quite a bit of use. We've got some old rusty chain that I'm going to use for some stuff. This is going to be fun. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to create something for this dragonfly to sit on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stout piece of trampoline pole and I'm going to weld it to this rim and I'm going to wrap it with chain and I'm going to build a rose out of that rusty metal, including leaves, and I'm going to put all of it together to make a rose, a rusty old rose coming up out of this rim. The rim can be buried in the yard later and you won't even see it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this trampoline pole, put it down in here. I've already prepped all this for welding. Take my welder. I'm going to lower this just a little bit. I don't like this angle. I'm going to lower it just a hair, and then I'm going to weld it in place down here. And that'll be my stem. All right, so now I've got it welded in place here in a couple spots, and I've got this end cut off. I'm going to start wrapping chain around it. Okay, so we got that done. Now I'm going to go ahead and begin on the dragonfly. Okay, so that's going to do well enough for what we're doing here. Now I'm going to try and take this design. Now I'm going to try and take that design and copy some wings onto here in a way that uses as much of this as possible without foolishly using it. Now I'm going to take this permanent marker and I'm going to trace each one of these onto this 2 times a piece. Now that I have them traced on there, I'm going to go ahead and cut them out. For this job, we're going to use an air-powered sawzall. Okay, I've got all 4 of them cut out. Now I'm just going to smooth up all the edges so they don't snag and cut anybody. And we'll go from there. Now I'm going to take my die grinder with a cutting wheel on it. I've got on safety glasses, coveralls. I'm going to be using welding gloves. These wheels can come apart and do with some frequency. We've had them stuck up in the ceiling. In fact, I might still have one up in the ceiling somewhere. All right, I'm at the other end of my shop and now we're looking upward here. And I'm going to climb this ladder and then you're going to see what I'm talking about. All right, I'm up here on top of this ladder. And if you look right above this 2x4, you can see that little black speck right there. That is one of those blades that came apart clear down there and lodged in that styrofoam right there. So as I was saying, I've got safety glasses on. It wouldn't hurt to have a full face shield on, but I do keep my face well out of the path. So I'm very careful, and I've got my guys over the years, I've taught them to be very careful about the placement of their body. and the protective wear they should have on when they're going to go ahead and use one of these cutting wheels. And we don't do that every single time I want to make a little bitty cut or cut off a little bolt or cut off a little something. And that's probably foolish, but I do it when I know I'm getting ready to use this thing for the bulk of the afternoon. I'm going to make hours worth of cuts here, so might as well get suited up. Okay, so I'm going to make this cut. I'm going to make this cut. I've got my image. I'm going for that shape and that shape. And then, of course, this piece right here is this piece, because of this curvature that I'm leaving is going to lend to that. So this is going to be connected to this, and this is going to overlap it. And so now I've got this piece here cut, and then I notched it. It was about that wide down here. And I pinched it in a vise and then welded it in a couple spots. So you see this bends down a little bit and now bends up because I've taken this piece off of a different exhaust and I've moved it over here to where, and what we're trying to do is we're coming up with this shape right here. This is this, and this is the bottom part of this. This will be the top part of this once I get the two fit together in a way that I'm happy with. So what I went with instead was I went ahead and just traced this design, this shape, because I like the size of it, right onto the side of there in both spots, and then cut it out. Here's the pieces. And now I'm going to spread these apart. Spread these apart and then bring it down over the top of this to make the main body. Okay, so I've got this pipe, you know, I split it. Now I've put it over this one. So we've got this S shape that I wanted. Now I'm going to take this one, and I've widened it some. Now we're going to try and fit it over the top of this one in a way that I'm happy with. So now what I've done is I've taken those remaining two pieces of pipe and I've measured them out in consecutively smaller lengths. And then I went ahead and cut them this way as well. So now I can roll them in on themselves and make them consecutively smaller and attach them to this, and they'll get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then I will put a cool stabbing point down on the end. So what I'm doing is I'm just rolling it in on itself to the point where it fits inside of here. And then once I'm convinced it's going to fit inside of there, then I make a mark, which I did. Now I'm going to go cut that, put the two seams flat together and see if it does fit in there. And if it does, then that's going to be my formula. That 3/4 of an inch or 7/8 or whatever that turns out to be is going to be my formula, and I'll put it on the rest of them and cut them all that much smaller. So each one, you have to add that measurement to each one. So if this is 3/4, then the next one has to be 1.5 inches, and then the next one has to be 3/4 bigger than that. You see, and then if I keep adding that consecutive measurement, these should shrink just enough to fit inside of each other. And here's the closer to the finished product. Now I'm going to start figuring out how this spear at the end is going to look. Okay, so I went ahead and cut this visor up. I could have just taken out the bolts, but it'd take way less time to just cut it in two because these have lock nuts on the back side, and with these little Phillips heads, I already know what I'm in for there. So then I went ahead and cut this out. This is what I needed. I was never going to use this as a visor or as a complete shape ever again. I just needed it'll store easier this way. This is what I wanted. It already has a nice even bend in it. I can put my shape in it, and we can probably go from there. Okay, so I've taken that corner piece off of that visor, and I've formed it around a pipe that I laid on the floor to a certain shape. And now that I've got that shape, I've just stuffed this in there using the rigid end of it, the other end, as a way to keep from crushing it. Now I'm just going to keep tightening down this vise and working with it until I've basically pinched this tight, and that's roughly the shape I need. I'll open it up a hair further, and then I'll put it on that. And so here I've got this folded over the way I wanted it. I pinched this end. Once I had this size the way I wanted it, I welded it there to hold it, pinched this end in a vise to get it go ahead and smash down the way I wanted it, and then welded it in place. Now this isn't done yet, but I had no choice but to weld it in place first. Otherwise I just couldn't get that. It's just too tight a tolerance. So now that I got it on there, I'm going to weld it in place, and then I'm going to finish out my shape here. Okay, so now I've got this cut out just roughly cut out, and I've just got one cut right up the center. I didn't feel like trying to hollow all that out the way it is. Not if I can fold it down and bend it down the way I need to, then it'll be even easier to cut out. So this is the first initial step. I need to straighten this guy up and then get to folding on this. So I found this other piece of exhaust over in my junk pile, and I've just have it stretched out here so I can bend this over it and get that rough shape going. So now that I've got these legs welded up here in the seam that I cut, I went ahead and welded them on here. Welded the insides thoroughly and not the outsides at all. I don't really want welds showing here, not to mention if I have to bend these in toward each other to grip that better, then I'm gonna wish that those weren't welded. But the insides are completely welded. So now that I've got this welded in place here, and I've just got this little hood prop back there behind it just to make sure that it's held up. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this pile of mirrors here, 2 of them that come off of semis, and 2 of them came off of like a 1-ton truck. They're just extended mirrors. Now I've cut down all those truck mirrors to get these 2 parts that I wanted. These are about 1 inch longer than these, so these will be the middle legs, these will be the front legs. And I'm going to go ahead and cut these 9/10 of the way through like I did the others, kink them, and then go ahead and tack weld them. All right, I'm going to pull this prop out of the back here, so this will be all under its own suspension. It'll all be under its own weight. It'll all sit how it's going to sit. Oh, that was effortless, actually. It feels pretty decent. Boy, this thing is a handful. Ooh, if I had to guess, 150 pounds at least.